Did your elementary school teacher ever make you go and stand in the corner when all you were doing was trying to speak the truth? Is Barack Obama secretly Hawaiian? Are the Church of Scientology secretly trying to take over your town? Do the Jews secretly control the Israeli government? Don't get cold feet just yet, because it's always 90 degrees here in the conspiracy corner. Or at least that's what they want you to think.
So I don't know if this counts as a conspiracy, but I genuinely believe that if there is a woman on television, the bigger the tits, the more likely they are to be killed in the ensuing seconds of that television show going. Conspiracy or not? I say we let the viewers decide.
I mean, it could be like a contract sort of thing, where it's more expensive to get one, and they charge by the hour.
So
That could be it.
they got to pay off the loan of their breast addition, and so
No, they just cost more to hire as an actress.
because there's more of them to go around.
It's because they take up more of the screen.
Oh. Conspiracy debunked. It's true.
This says a lot about our society.
Yes, it does. So, what are we talking about today here in the corner? Where it's always 90 degrees. Right past the titties.
Speaking of society, have you ever run into someone where you really have to wonder if this person is firing on all cylinders, if this person really has a conscious internal life?
I have that thought every fucking day I talk to you, buddy. I mean, was that it? Because we could go for a couple tangents on that. Easy.
Conspiracy. Brett is an NPC.
A non-playable character.
Yep.
It's just a hive mind syndrome from, all the other people in television with their big tits and Brett at the head. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Well, I don't know about his tits, but he did not have a TV show either.
Who is this?
This was a guy called Julian James, and he was a real smart person in the 20th century.
Okay.
Let me see.
Julian James. That sounds like a porn star
James.
name.
Let's see. Research Associate at Princeton, blah, blah, blah. American Psychological Association, National Science Foundation, blah, 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 blah. PhD, blah, blah, blah. Real smart guy.
So how is he tied into this conspiracy?
Well, you know that thing where you have to sit there and wonder, like, if everyone else is an NPC, if they really have, like, a rich internal life, if they're really a conscious person? Well, Jules's idea was that all the ancients were like that.
Mm-hmm.
All
This isn't
the
Jules Verne, is it?
No,
Okay.
this is a American from the 1900s.
Okay. So what? He just thought that there was something cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in everybody's head, and they just didn't think. They just said whatever.
He basically thought that like all the pre-Bronze Age collapsed civilizations, like the ancient Greeks, not the ones we think about, but like the Minoans and stuff, the Hittites, the ancient Egyptians, and all of them were basically schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic. Okay.
That they either hadn't internalized or at least hadn't developed the language to articulate having an internal monologue, having a internal consciousness.
Well, what... There's the age-old expression, I think, therefore I am, from whoever the fuck, right? What was
Right.
this guy's proof or thinking or line of reasoning for saying what he was saying?
This guy's line of reasoning is that, like, whenever somebody like Nebuchadnezzar or somebody like Socrates, somebody writing in the ancient world, is writing, that they're not describing themselves as conscious, that they're not describing other people as conscious, that the writing is very blunt, that it's not articulating or anticipating the feelings of others. Or at least that's what Julian James says. I mean, if you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, or at least the later one, it's full of that kind of stuff. But his idea is that when Socrates says that, oh, he had a great idea, and that it was delivered to him by his personal daemon, a personal spirit who delivers his ideas, that's just Socrates' consciousness. Not conscience. I'm going to continue to get them mixed up. But that it was basically
Good enough.
that
We'll figure it out.
everyone conceptualized their consciousness as a personal god who lived in their head and spoke to them. Or perhaps even as
That's
a
a hell of a
manifestation
rabbit hole.
of the pharaoh's voice, or the Shah and Shah's voice, or whoever. And that it spoke to them and commanded it. So when you wake up in the morning and think, I should make toast today,
Why is it toast okay?
they ate a lot of fucking bread, okay? Agriculture was big back then.
How would you toast
So
your toast
when they
then?
wake up in the morning and said, hey, I should bake bread, that was the voice of either the pharaoh or the pharaoh's god or your own personal god or your own personal daemon, as the ancient Greeks would call it. But they hadn't really internalized the idea that all these voices smacking around were their own.
Okay, so how do we even... I know that I have thinking capabilities on most days.
Do you?
Probably not, but for argument's sake, we'll say yes. And you try and talk and you try and articulate things and you always have to ponder them. And it's not like I can hear the inside of your head, right? I know due to if you change a behavior, that would be a direct correlation to a genuine thought. If I would have, if the precursor of a conversation were to have occurred, like if I were to tell you that,
So you think that
Brett, I'm gonna slap
observing
you.
someone's ability to learn behavior would be evidence that they have an internal life, that they have a
I think
awareness
it's
of self.
indicative. I don't think it proves it, but it does give some validity towards the idea.
Yeah, because I mean, I can train my dog, with little little snackies.
That is
Doesn't
true.
mean it has a rich internal life,
That is true. I'm not inside your head. Like I don't know your internal thoughts.
But if you slipped me a Scooby snack every time, every time that I didn't shit in the house,
How
might
many
change
times?
my behavior.
Hey, look, man, I've been
Even
shitting
if
in the
I-
house for years, and it
even
is
if I was
glorious.
Even if I was a philosophical zombie, even if I was outwardly identical to a normal human being but didn't have a conscious experience, like you could probably Scooby snack me, Pavlov me.
Question:
Why?
Daphne or Velma?
That's a great question.
Well, you didn't answer it.
I think in a long-term situation, I'd have to go Velma.
Daphne all the way, baby.
I'm not saying no or anything. I'm just saying that I appreciate the stability.
The stability. What are you talking about? Once you go red, you never go back. Mostly because I'm fairly certain you fuck Daphne, she'll fucking kill you. I think she's got the highest per capita kills in that TV show.
I'm fairly certain that Daphne is a philosophical zombie who is
She.
not a conscious person.
So, how do you prove that somebody has thought? Like, how do I prove that Daphne, outside of her tits, how do I prove that she has thought inside of her head?
It's a pretty good question. Outside of like the general Cartesian, like how do I know anything is real? What you can do is you can slice somebody's brain in half.
What does that prove, though? It doesn't tell me that there's thought. The only way that I would be that the only way that you could physically prove it to me is if it could touch my five senses. And if I'm trying to hear your thoughts, well, I'm not hearing a brain. I'm feeling it at best. Looking at something fucked up. Because you just took a bodacious babe, chopped off her hair, opened up the cranium to look for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, again, you'd have to, look at their works, look at their life and shit. And part of Professor James's stuff is the Bronze Age collapse of that civilization got real fraidy fucked there at the umpteenth millennium AD, BC, whatever.
Well, isn't it a fair
The Bronze
statement
Age
to
collapse.
say that
That's
even back then, there was no line of reasoning? I think it is, it's not a fact, but I think we can for sure say that there is not a factual. I just can't comprehend those motherfuckers saying something about science, about technology, or even having reasoning. Like, we're not even talking about like the whole scientific method where you're going through the entirety of looking at a problem, observing it, identifying it, solving it potentially, or just saying get the fuck out of Dodge. We'll solve it when we have better, understanding of insert whatever the problem is. I think during the Bronze Age they wouldn't exactly have that kind of depth and thought because it was never introduced until later. So
let's see, circa 1800 BC, Egyptian Middle Kingdom, Berlin Papyrus 6619 includes
was
a
that the Bronze Age?
proof of the Pythagorean theorem.
Well, no, no. Was that during the Bronze Age? During the what was happening during the Bronze Age? The pyramids?
Let's see, late Bronze Age collapse, 12th century BC.
So what? 12,000 years or 1,200 years?
1200 BC.
1,200. So 1,200, two zeros.
Yes.
I don't know. A lot of our. I think it is a safe assumption to assume that they don't exactly have higher reasoning capabilities.
Yeah, but again, what we're talking about isn't necessarily like a great ability to reason, but a conscious mind at all.
Well, so if these guys are creating, if they have actual thought, if they have actual reasoning, we can't prove it, can we? Because what's happening during this time frame? Like what
Again,
great
it's
mankind thing is happening in 12,
sort of hard
BC?
to prove that anybody has any rich internal life.
Sure, but again,
And
we can
again,
prove it by
part of
actions.
the bicameral mind idea is that everyone relied heavily on these uh, personal gods to deliver information to them, and that suddenly, all at once, all across the Mediterranean Near East, the gods left and stopped answering as civilization collapsed, and that this was some sort of emergence of mind that led to a collapse of civilization as people started to internalize their thoughts, and that later the Oracle at Delphi emerged, and blah, 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 blah. So the idea is, again, before this, as part of the bicameral mind, that people should have been awfully impersonal, that people shouldn't have been unable to understand that another person had an internal life. Right? There's an psychological experiment. Let me see if I can remember what it's called. They give it to autistic kids and stuff.
Yeah, because that makes it ethical. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word.
All they do is somebody comes along and says, okay, I'm going to take this can of 7-Up, right? Brought to you by the good people at 7-Up. And
That
says,
was a
okay,
Coke
I'm
product.
going to leave the room with Mr. Autistic Child in it, all right? And then the sneaky janitor comes in, right, and says, oh, I'm going to put the 7-Up in the safe, right? And then the psychologist comes into the room and says, okay, now if person A comes back and wants their 7-Up, where are they going to look? Where are they going to look for it? Are they going to look for it where they left it? Or are they going to look for it where the janitor hid it?
Okay.
So if the child can internalize that,
Does the child
person A-
see
the child sees this going on. It's whether or not they can internalize that the first person who wants the 7-Up has a separate viewpoint, has
Okay.
a separate internal life and consciousness, and didn't observe the 7-Up being moved.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Uh,
So,
proof
part
by
of-
action. Like if they do the
Again, the-
logical thing, and they saw it happen. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Right? Am I following along so far?
yeah.
Okay.
But again, this isn't strictly a test of logic. It's whether or not they understand that person A has a distinct experience from the test subject.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, it's not a logical problem of you're starting from these premises and these assumptions and able to reason it out from there. It's whether or not you have that critical information that
Well, what about
person has a different experience.
what about poetry? What about art? What about
Yeah,
anything
again,
that's
this
artistic?
is why I brought up the Epic of Gilgamesh, because later, after this book, what's the name of it? After The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind by Julian Jaynes came out, they found another copy of the Epic of Gilgamesh, which had more flowery prose, which was written before the Bronze Age collapse. And it described all of these emotions, all of this inner turmoil, all of this grief for losing one's friend, and all this stuff that was indicative of not just a person being conscious, but of this character, Enkidu, understanding that, this character Gilgamesh understanding that Enkidu had a separate consciousness, and that the same things may happen to Gilgamesh one day. And again, to understand that, to have these characters running around understanding that is one thing, but to have a person sitting down and writing this poetry and recording it and shit and understanding that is definitely indicative of consciousness.
So, in the great words of one Will.I.am Shakespeare, doobie or not doobie? Therein lies the question.
Well, give Gilgamesh a doobie snack, because the people of the ancient Mediterranean Near East are getting a conscious seal of approval from us here at
The Conspiracy Corner.
Your timeout is over. As the final echoes of our broadcast dissolve back into the void, you return from the Conspiracy Corner. A place not of whispers and shadows, but of reflection. Because in every tale of hidden hands and unseen forces, there lingers something far more unsettling. Not what is out there, but what lies within ourselves. And one final thought to carry with you back into that darkness. That federal agents are like opinions. Everybody has one, and they all stink.